Okay, the first order of business is to accept the minutes of January 21st, 2014. We received them in our package. If there are any additions or corrections to the minutes, we need a motion to accept.
So moved.
Motion made to accept. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion second. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Those minutes are accepted. The review committee number 3, January 21, 2014 minutes. We need to accept those minutes. Are there any additions or corrections to the review committee number 3, minutes of January 21? Hearing none, is there a motion to accept?
So moved.
Motion to accept, second?
Second.
Motion second. Discussion on the motion. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Need a motion to accept the review committee number 4, January 28, 2014 minutes. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes by anyone? If not, we need a motion to accept the minutes of review committee number 4.
So moved.
Motion's made. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Motion's been made and second. Discussion on the motion. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Minutes of review committee number 5, January 28, 2014. If there's any additions or corrections to those minutes, if not, we need a motion on the floor to accept.
So moved.
Motion has been made. Is there a second? Motion's been made and second. Discussion. Any discussion on review committee number 5? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. We're going to jump the agenda, hold off on complaint number 1, and go right to the status of complaint number 3, if that's all right with commission members. Complaint, the status of, Jeff, you want to give it, or you want to do the status of complaint number 3? Can you say, please?
Oh, okay. Yeah, my understanding is that we had said when the chief came that there were people who wanted to testify, but we didn't ask them to come to that meeting. That there would be another opportunity. Freedom of the chief did not have information that we were open to get, but he didn't have it on who was arrested, what were they charged with, all those kinds of things. And so a Freedom of Information Act was filed by the, which I think is what it suggested actually, by the complainants, that's the right word. And as far as I know, they haven't received a word back from that. And what they've asked for is who was arrested, what were they charged with how many ICE referrals were people deported, all that kind of stuff. And the idea of that was to find out, is it really, are these raids actually reducing crime, or are they just picking people up who otherwise, then maybe not have a license, otherwise are not engaging in negative activity. So, as far as I know, it was filed. I don't believe they had an answer yet. So, I'm talking to the chair. He said maybe we should table that until the next month, and then we'll see what information we get.
And if we need to, whatever, a review committee will meet with those folks.
Right, my understanding is the procedure of the review committee hears it first, they hear the evidence, and then they give it to this full commission.
Any questions? Laura, I want to get an update on item 5.
Well, we just briefly met on this matter, and I think if we are going to be following through the ordinances, we are going to be scheduling a meeting with Arthur Akers to discuss that his many complaints aren't basically, there's no violation in place through our ordinances, and we just kind of want to have that discussion with them and maybe help him support like other avenues where he can go, because there's a lot of like state, with the Department of Revenue, there are a lot of like formal complaints that he could make with the different state branches that he can just kind of navigate that way. But as far as like human rights violation at this point. There's nothing under the ordinance that would indicate that his rights are violated. I just say Lynn, on the schools and/or community development.
So you're gonna have one, the review committee's gonna have one more additional meeting with them on it? Okay. And Jordan is not here to give a report on funding report. Okay, so we'll go off that until he arrives. Okay, the status of complaint number 1, which is the Ford School. Review committee was set down. The members of the review committee, myself, Pamela Freeman, Jeff Crosby, Gene McCauley, Laura, Jake Kehoe, and Audrey. And Wendy Johnson has requested to make a short, brief 15-minute presentation to the commission, and we decided that I would put her on the agenda so she'll make the presentation to the full commission, as it was when you made one a number of months ago. You have some updates that you want to give the commission specifically regarding your written complaint, correct? Okay? So, why don't you make your presentation to the commission, okay?
My name is Wendy Joseph, and I'm a member of the Highlands Coalition. I thank the Human Rights Commission for taking up this petition. I thank Lynn City Council for supporting us by allocating funds for investigation. I also thank the many volunteers who knocked on doors, our community partners and allies for their support, and the team who worked with me on this presentation. I thank School Committee Donor Capola for being here in attendance this evening. Thank you to members of the Lynn Disability Commission. Stanley Wotry is here, past chair of the Disability Commission. Dr. Claire Crane, principal of the Ford School, with some children of the Ford School, and LynnCAM and Dimitrios Kritikos for their video coverage. If I've missed anyone, my apologies, and thank you for being here as well. June 26, 2012. The City of Lynn hereby establishes a board to be known as the Human Rights Commission for the purpose of advocating for human rights and the prevention of discrimination. Section 6, paragraph A3 of this ordinance allows you to take up the matter of any unfair and unequal treatment which denies either a group or an individual equal protection of the law in the enjoyment and exercise of civil rights. Our presentation this evening will help you to advocate on behalf of the people of the Highlands as we describe our position concerning the exercise of our civil rights to vote without undue obstacles. Historically, voting in the Highlands is far lower than in places like Wards 1 and Wards 2. Compared to the rest of Lynn, the Highlands has almost double the amount of English as second language speakers, and almost 10% more people live below the poverty line than in the rest of Lynn as a whole. Racial diversity in the Highlands is quite different than in other parts of the city. On the left, we see the racial makeup of the Wyoming Square District, the purple representing the majority white population, and to the right, the racial diversity of the Highlands. How many languages are spoken in your community? Just within the Ford Elementary School, there are 16 languages spoken. And we have some flags of some of the languages here. Do you want to show us, ladies? There we go. Follow along with me. In alphabetical order, left to right, top to bottom, these are all spoken at the Ford School: Arabic, Bengali, Chinese, and French, Haitian Creole, Igbo, Khmer, and Uganda, Nepali, Portuguese, Somali, and Spanish. Never mind how many different Spanish dialects are spoken. French patois, US English, Vietnamese, and Yoruba. Let's spend some time thinking about this and what it means. With an area of only a little over a half a mile, the Highlands has a population of almost 14,000 people. This makes the Highlands over 3 times more densely populated than the rest of the city. Since 2004, when voting was discontinued at the Ford School, voter turnout has dropped 34.5%. Failure to address the needs of this community amounts to disenfranchisement and discrimination. This is the trip to vote via public transportation. From the heart of the Highlands to the nearest public transportation is a 10-minute walk for an able-bodied person. After the 20-minute bus ride, shown here in red, it's another 10-minute walk to North Shore Community College. Elapsed time, over 40 minutes on a recent scout by me, and I do not have any mobility issues. This final 10-minute walk includes crossing Massachusetts State Route 1A. If you are not familiar, pictures show the crossing of Route 1A at the old Edison building. Ever tried to cross this street? But you're not done. You have to walk 2 more blocks before you finally reach the polling place. Lack of transportation in this walking community limits the opportunity for residents of this diverse community to contribute to their neighborhood by voting. And with the demographics that we just saw, voting might be the only way that some of these people can contribute to their community. At North Shore Community College, there are incredible and unacceptable physical barriers to voting. You have a handout in your folder that breaks down one person's struggle to vote here in the last election. The inaccessibility of this polling place would thwart a less determined voter. By the way, I'm informed that this maneuver up the stairs with a walker is extremely unsafe. On the other hand, the Ford School is fully accessible to the community. If you don't recognize the t-shirts on these lovely ladies, they're from Mass Singer Action. They don't have any problems telling you if there's an accessibility issue for them. Voting at the Ford School was used to teach the students about their civic duty to vote. Students look forward to mock voting day. The Ford School is where the Highlands community comes together. Your handouts also show community efforts to restore voting at the Ford School. That includes a letter written to the election clerk, which was printed in the item in November of last year, registering new voters, a petition to restore voting at the Ford School, signing up our own community translators, a letter by past Disability Commission Chair Stanley Woodring, and my letter to the editor in response to a recent article in the item, which refers to the site visit report. The voting petition reads, I'm an eligible voter who finds it difficult to vote at North Shore Community College or St. Pius Church. I prefer to vote at the Ford School. On just this one page of the petition, 7 out of 11 people indicated hardships, as indicated by the red circles. Here we see some young men signing up as translators to help people vote. These young men, for example, are taking English lessons at the Fort Knight School. They are confident that when they learn to speak English better, they can help their community out by volunteering. And I have to tell you, they were so proud and excited to sign up. Briefly addressing the state's recent Disability Office site inspection report, there were a number of inconsistencies in this surprisingly brief report. The report starts by asserting that there are no designated accessible parking spaces at the Florida School. Seeming to contradict itself, the report continues on page 2, citing the size of the accessible spots. The photo clearly shows that there are designated spaces. This basic factual disconnect calls into question the validity and veracity of the entire report. Is there a possibility that there was a preconceived judgment as to the suitability of this site, maybe based on how the visit was arranged and paid for?
Excuse me, can you repeat that?
My question?
Yes.
I said, is there a possibility that there was a preconceived judgment as to the suitability of this site? By the way, the state requirements is that the accessible spaces be 8 feet wide. The report notes that the accessible spaces are only 7.5 feet wide, only off by 6 inches. This 6-inch difference is an easy fix. The parking lot will be restriped without incurring any costs. The lot is restriped by the LynnCAM students for free. In the material you have before you, please take some time later to look over a point-by-point analysis of this site visit report. For those of you without folders, the letter from past Lynn Disability Chair Stanley Wotring reads in part, in my opinion, the spirit of this landmark civil rights legislation was one of accommodation and inclusion, and not meant to be a vehicle of denial and retribution. He further states, using this legislation in any other way than in one that fosters inclusion through accommodation is a perversion of its spirit and intent. Such a perversion only does a greater injustice and only guarantees further isolation through separation. For the sake of diverse children of the Highlands, it is imperative to return voting to a trusted and accessible place within the community. Data for this presentation was compiled from citydata.com, a recognized information source for media outlets such as CNN, from the New Lynn Coalition's research report of 2011, and City of Lynn Clerk's Office. Thank you very much, Commissioners. Do we have some time for some questions?
Yeah, so with that, I thought that was a great report. The other issue that I thought had been raised was
In those handouts, I have specs of dealing with the ramp in 2 different ways.
okay, could you just summarize that for us? Is that all
Yes.
right? I can read it. Thank you.
The site inspection report. Claire, can I have that folder back? Thank you. This is what you're looking at right here. It's the colorful. The site inspection report is referring to a statute titled CMR 90, and that gives you all the things like 8 feet, as opposed to 7.5. The site visit done by Bridget Simmons Murphy, recently from the state, had a slope of 9.4 and 10.3. And other surveys by licensed civil engineers had measured the slope at 8.3, which was well within the state ADA guidelines. So we got we got a survey by a licensed engineer for complete resurfacing and moving of the top railing, which was off by 2 inches. And we have that amount there. And the CMR also has an option to have a portable ramp. If it isn't practical to install a permanent ramp, portable ramps shall be provided. And this portable ramp company is the same company that holds the contract for temporary building ramps for the city of Boston. And that site visit, you have that number right there. So there are 2 options for addressing the ramp. And as you might see after that, the Highlands Coalition is committed to finding funding sources through ADA interested granting companies. We do not expect the city to pay anything for getting the Ford School up to compliance.
Any other questions?
You left me with the impression that there's no ramps or any handicap accessible spaces in the community school. Can you? Community college, yeah. Is that true? Is that true?
This is the young woman who had the issue, who was in a wheelchair at that time of voting.
Hi, I'm Mary, and I will tell you that when I went to vote, I first tried voting at the back of the building, which is where the voting was. It was in the gym at the college, and there was a flight of stairs. I am in the process of healing. I am now mostly either on a cane or walker, but at that point, I was still fully in my wheelchair. There was no way to get up there. There was no ramp. So I went to the front door. There was a handicapped door. Pressed the button. Button didn't work. The door didn't work. Someone with me had to open the door. And then the door was too narrow. My chair didn't fit through. So I ended up having to stand up with a walker at the doorway, and someone else put my chair through for me. And then it was a very long a trip down a very long hallway. 3 sets of doors across the hallway, and one door open at each set of doors. I had to have the one next to it opened so that my wheelchair would go through, because it wasn't going through. And when I got to the gym, I had to step up out of my wheelchair again, and because there's like a steel pole in the middle of the doorway, so keeping the doorway very narrow, there was no way that my chair was going to fit through. So I, again, had to step forward on a walker and then have the wheelchair go behind me. I was able to do that. Not everyone can. And when I got there, when I tried to vote, I couldn't find any and didn't see any wheelchair accessible voting. I ended up being on my walker to vote. Anyone else who went to that space who couldn't get out of their wheelchair would have had a much more difficult time. I mean, slowly but surely, I'm getting better. A little more slowly than I really want. But I am getting better, and I am able to use a walker when I need to. And I was at the time of voting. Lots of people will never be able to do that. They can't vote. There's no way to, if you've got a wider wheelchair, other than a kid's wheelchair, which would fit through a couple of the doors. I'm not sure it would fit through the gym door. That's it. Regular size wheelchairs do not fit. So that was my experience. And I called the city clerk's office and asked about it, and was told to call back in a couple of days, which I did. I got the runaround at that point. I was said, we'll call you, I was told that we'll call you in a week. I still haven't heard back. It's been a long week since November 5th.
Thank you. Any other questions? I think what we'll do is that prior to the next regular meeting of the Human Rights Commission, which is the third Tuesday of April, I'll convene a meeting of the review committee on the Ford School, and we will meet and go over the information that was presented to us tonight.
Well, may I make one comment to wrap up?
Sure.
I'd like to introduce one of these young ladies from the board school who has something very brief to say.
I used to be a student at the Ford Memorial Elementary School, and now I go to Pickering Middle School. And when Dr. Crane told me about the trouble they were having, how they wanted the voting back in the school, because they wanted the younger kids to experience their first voting with the older kids and the adults, so when they get older, they'll follow their parents' steps and they'll pass on to the next generations. And their kids will learn how to vote, and it'll make it easier for us to understand how to vote and not have things complicated and everything. And it just jumbles up because then the kids won't know what to do. They'll always be confused and they'll always ask an adult for help and everything, just to figure out how they vote.
Very good.
What's your name?
Yeah.
We'll get the phone.
Hello, everybody. My name is Olga de los Santos, and I go to Ford Robert Elementary School. And I wanted the voters to come back, because when we had the voting, the kids used to come down to see their parents vote. But now that, when they grow up, they can have kids, and then the kids could come and see it, and then the other kids, and they'll go generation by generation. But now we can't do that because it's at North Shore Community College. And then we made a fundraiser with Dr. Green and us, and we made a fundraiser for the board elementary school. And then Dr. Green hired two men to measure the length, and then we made a ramp for the handicapped people so they could go on the ramp and someone can wheel them up. And now if someone wants to go, if a parent wants to go to North Shore Community College, the kids can't see them because the kids can't get out of class and go there because it's not down there. And if it was back and forth, then they could just go down the stairs, but now they can't because it's not in Ford anymore. It's in North Shore Community College. So how they're going to do that if they have to walk? And actually they can't take school because school is important.
Yes, it is, absolutely. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your.
I think she brings them all the time.
I have one experience that I want to also share with you. My name is Miosole Centron. My mother used to live at 35 Highlands, and she moved 2 houses away from the Ford school to go and vote. I have to come out from my organization that I work for as a volunteer, neighbor to neighbor, to bring my mother to vote to the St. Pius school. My mom's legally blind. She's diabetic. She has so many complications when she was a child. She broke her leg, and she's afraid on an elevator because she got trapped in an elevator with a broken leg. I have to drive my mother, put in her walking wheelchair, the one that you roll her and bring it inside to an elevator, which I couldn't fit with her and my daughter. She was also there that day. And I have to leave my daughter with my mother in the elevator and go outside, go around the corner, go inside the building, wait for my mother to come down the elevator, and then bring my mother to make her vote, possible. It's very hard for the elderly that is also afraid to go out in the dark when she knows she's legally blind, she doesn't see anymore. And I have to go before sunset because of the same issue, that why she has to go that far when Ford is only 2 houses away from her place. I would like to be reopened and reconsider the elderly. They also count in the city. Thank you.
I have one other
The-
comment. Oh, I'm sorry. I just have one other comment, which is, before last fall's elections, there were programs at the Ford School to meet the candidates. Specifically, I remember one of the going to meet the school committee candidates. Went in, had no problem getting in a wheelchair. Again, I was doing combination wheelchair and walker, and I was able to get into the Ford School with no problem and minimal assistance. And the assistance was just for my convenience and ease, not for necessity. It was, my then roommate was just trying to make life easier for me.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, it takes you back to the unexpected
Oh,
candidate.
I figured something happened, right?
Yeah.
Do you, I know you met once on it.
Yes,
Do you want to just give us a brief?
it was a saving our souls.
Yeah.
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 Um,
Oh, you just want to,
Yeah, well, we're done with the.
yeah, we're done with the full, yeah, we're going to review.
No, we did meet, and basically what happened was Pamela Burton and some other people representing Saving Our Souls came. And she explained to us that she felt that it was unjust the way she was denied the block grant from the city of Lynn.
Shannon?
Yeah,
Right.
Shannon grant. And it was specifically through Mary Lee's organization, Children's Friend and Family,
Right.
because they have the fiduciary responsibility to manage the grant, because the grant's it's from the police department.
Right.
So but they let her agency manage it, so therefore, she's been doing it for several years, so she has everybody apply for the grant, and then they select the grant recipients. So Pamela Burton was, felt that it was unfair the way that the grant recipients were selected. And then, and so Pamela Burton just explained that, she explained her process. And it was kind of like she had a little bit of back and forth with it, because it was like she had a question and then she couldn't get a call back, and, kind of stuff like that, just to get the grant submitted. So apparently she did get the grant submitted, but was not selected for the grant. And she just felt that the entire process was unfair to her and her agency, and then they didn't get selected for the grant. So then we solicited the response from Mary Lee, who did respond, but we haven't discussed that.
Oh.
So,
All right, so I'm asking you meeting again.
we should be meeting again to discuss Mary Lee's. I thought we were going to do it tonight, but I wasn't sure. Okay. So we have to discuss Mary Lee's response and then kind of.
Okay, so we've got updates from 1 through 5. Is there any other business before the commission? Jeff?
I mean, maybe for the folks that came to sit in on the issue about the fourth school, maybe you could explain. I know it's going to go back to a review committee, which is what our procedure is. And then the review committee will make a recommendation to this body, the full commission, probably next month, right?
I don't hope so.
So, but the review committee, those are also public meetings, and they're also posted, so everybody knows.
Terry always informs a representative of the coalition who make a complaint. When the review committee is in a public meeting, open to the public, so anyone can come. At that time, the purpose is for the review committee to review the additional information that was presented to us tonight is not necessarily a public hearing like the tonight, but that's up to the review committee. If they want to suspend the rules, they certainly can.
It's a public meeting,
It's a
not
public
not
meeting.
necessarily a public hearing.
That's correct, yes.
Gotcha.
So we will find a date to meet before our next meeting, which is, what date is it? Third. April 15th is the next HRC full commission meeting, third Tuesday of the month. Right? On board? April 15th is our next meeting. But the review committee for the Ford School will meet prior to that. Wendy and others, you'll be notified
Thank you very much.
when that meeting is.
And will the review committee for the state police action, will that be before the?
Yep.
Okay. So they'll both be prior.
Dates open.
Okay.
Any other business before the commission? None, I need a motion to adjourn. Second? All those in favor? Aye. Meeting adjourned.